Welcome back to another episode of Born Again Bowhunting Podcast. On today's episode, it's going to be a little bit different. We got my buddy Bryce Weaver on. How's it going tonight, Bryce?
Pretty good.
Good. Thanks for joining us.
Absolutely.
So just tell us a little bit about yourself here before we get into our icebreakers and then really get into the podcast.
Okay, so I'm married. I've got 3 kids, a boy and 2 girls, 6, 4, and 2. Nothing
That's
really,
easy to remember.
Yeah. Nothing really to write home about. Try to live a simple life and just enjoy myself. And a big part of that is hunting. So,
Yeah,
That's awesome.
pretty hardcore too sometimes.
well, I'm no big buck hunter, but I like shooting deer. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that.
No, absolutely nothing wrong with that.
So let's get into our icebreakers. The first one is if you're during hunting season, like what's your go-to drink? Coffee, energy drink, whatever.
Definitely coffee.
How do you take it?
Usually a little bit of cream. My wife always has this like sugar-free sweetener flavor stuff, so I'll splash a little bit of that in there. But and then those Rain body fuels, they're not good for you, but I do drink those.
Is that
when I
what
need
Black
one.
drinks? What does he drink?
He's had those, yeah.
Or does he drink? The bangs.
Bangs.
The
Yeah.
bangs.
Yeah,
never
those are
mind.
good too.
The
They're
bangs.
good too. But
I
whatever
stay, I stay away from those, man.
Yeah, you just live off the Arnie's.
Dude, listen, if Arnie, if you're listening out there, and then I kind of want to say something real quick before getting into this podcast. I'm just getting over a little bit of a cold, so nothing too serious. But if my voice sounds a little different, or if you hear a sniffle every once in a while, I
If
apologize.
anything's gonna get him over, it's
But
gonna
listen,
be
listen. We got our medicine right here, boys. We got the Arnie, and if anybody that doesn't watch our videos or just listens, just know that there's probably like 3 or 4 cans of Arnold Palmer sitting on our table at any given time, and I'm drinking them. So
I can attest to that. They had a case tonight.
You know what we need to do is have like a crack meter. So every time you hear the like see who comments in that, how many Arnie's got cracked open that episode.
okay, sorry.
All right.
Sorry to interrupt.
No, you're good. Back to the icebreakers. So cover the drink. What's your favorite trail camera that you're running currently?
I got my first cell cam this year, and it was a Tacticam. Yeah, that was a game changer.
Yeah,
Man.
big time.
Honestly, I buy a bunch of those cheapies on Amazon, like
Dude,
the cam parks. They're like
I'm
30
telling
bucks. Just put them out on public.
And
I
that's the
don't-
same thing those the ones you
So I just did a little quick experiment on Black Friday. I bought like a bunch of cheap, like under $35, under $40 Amazon cameras, and there's one. What was it? Wurzbo. It's like WERSBO or something like that. And dude, I'm telling you, for the money,
Yeah, they work. I
like
mean,
like it's better than some of the Browning cameras I have.
yeah.
That I paid $100 for. I'm not even joking.
Yeah.
shots fired.
I put it on video mode late season on a food source. Dude, Amazon.
Yeah.
Next Black Friday, you're getting like 10 of those orders or 10 of those cameras.
I just get those little tiny ones. They're not much bigger than the size of your phone.
Yep.
I've never had anybody steal them. I mean, I hang them high too, like everybody else. But
Yeah.
no, I've never had any trouble. They're still kicking after. I think this is the 3rd or 4th season.
Dude, that's all it
Can't
takes.
beat that
No.
for a $30, $40
Dude,
camera.
I think everybody that either they've gotten into cell cameras this year for the first time or have been running cell cams for a long time, I think everybody has said that Tacticam reveals their favorite.
Yeah.
Well,
Boom.
I have been listening to you guys about the Wise guys, or Wise Eye,
Yeah,
should
Wise
say,
Eyes,
so
yeah.
I'm interested in that too.
Yeah, I feel like Tacticam's a great like entry level.
Yeah,
cell
it
cam.
is. It is.
I really
for
do.
sure.
Like, I mean, just user friendly and just,
Yeah.
if you're getting into the game,
I would agree.
Tacticam's a good one to
I
go
would
with.
agree.
Yeah. And then the final question is, what's your current bow that you're shooting? And since you're going to change it up, you
Yeah,
can
yeah.
talk about both of them actually.
Okay, so the past 2 years I've been using a Hoyt Axios. It was kind of an impulse buy. We can get into that if we end up doing that. But I just recently bought a new Recurve because I'm looking to
Hey.
get back into trad. I dabbled in that a couple years ago and had a good time with it. And it's kind of a long story on why I got out, but it basically was that I had a $60 bow and shot that thing great.
Like a trad bow or a
Yeah,
compound?
it was an old 70s bear.
Okay, yeah.
Black bear is what it was, but it was a 50-pound draw at 28 inch. Well, I'm drawing like 30, so we're talking like a 55-pound recurve. And I just fell in love with shooting the thing, but it was just tearing me up. I mean, you can imagine shooting that thing, 100 times a day or once in a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I bought a nicer bow, and it was a Hoyt Satori.
Okay.
And I just didn't really care for it. I kind
That's
of
that takedown version, right?
Yeah.
Like the limbs takedown. Yeah.
and it was a nice bow, but I could never quite shoot it right, and that kind of led me down a downward spiral. I ended up pulling out my old compound, and that thing was junk. They couldn't get it to tune, and so I impulse bought this Hoyt Axios and kind of got out of it. So I'm anxious to get back into it. It was a lot of fun.
So if you do go back into it, what kind of stick bow are you going to carry?
This is it's a Trinity stick bow. It's a 61-inch tip to tip, 45-pound draw at 31 inches. So
That's going to be sweet.
It's a pretty bow too.
it is. I'll have to show you guys.
It's sweet.
Yep.
One day I'll grow a pair and hunt with a trad bow, but I'm too scared.
I'll tell you. I mean, I feel like I'm kind of the guy that's all or nothing. And I think that's the only way you can look at it if you try it. Don't keep that compound in your back pocket. If you want to do it, just dedicate a good summer. And I felt just as deadly walking the woods of that thing.
What if a booner walks by at 45? Then what do you do?
Well,
You sending it?
That would be sad.
Are you sending it or
no,
you're not?
I wouldn't be comfortable sending it that far. I would
30,
say
35.
30 realistically, I'd probably try, but that's after a lot of practice.
So I can speak for sure. Bryce shoots his trad bow all the time, and he's good.
So when I get one and want to learn something, I can come to you.
Let's get together.
Let's do it.
Yeah, we'll
like
tear out some targets.
It's
Dude, I'm
fun.
not
He
even
gave me a
joking.
couple pointers and stuff, and like Bryce can say I was terrible at first.
Yeah,
And
but you picked it up
couple
quick.
tips.
Do
and
you
stuff,
aim down the arrow or do you shoot like completely
Well,
instinctive?
I see. Are you guys familiar with Joel Turner and
Yep.
Tom
Oh, yeah.
Plum and those
Yep,
guys?
yep.
Okay. Well, this round of getting back into trad, I'm kind of looking at it as a reset. I'm going to try to kind of
Start
adopt their
fresh.
methods.
Yeah.
And the whole shoulder issue, I've learned it's a big alignment issue.
Yep.
And so I'm hoping with the lighter bow and maybe adopting some of their methods that I'll they're like gap shooters and
Yeah.
into their
Yeah.
controlled shot. But I will say with the bow I was shooting, I just looked at it and I hit it. I mean,
So what he's getting at is 40-yard booner next year. Watch out.
oh man, I don't know. I can't imagine, but yeah, I hope I don't have to let one walk. That'd be pretty
Dude.
heartbreaking.
See, that's
Yeah.
honestly
And that's why you can't do it.
that's why I will never carry a trad bow until I'm
Yep.
old and like decrepit and hunting out of a ladder stand.
Yep,
I'm
that
telling
is the
you.
only downside. I mean, but I guess I just look at it as an adventure, and
Well, you know that
you'll
going
look
into
back
it
at
too.
it. Well, you'll look back at it and be like, yeah, I might have missed out on that one, but man, it sure was fun. you know?
Yeah.
But you know, like you look at it, like now that you mentioned that, you think about it. Like think about all the encounters that you've had and all the shots you've taken. Most of them are under 30 yards. Most.
Yep.
Most. But there's always that one that's
Yeah.
like, old big nasty's gonna walk by at
Yep.
40 yards, and it's like you can't shoot that far. So
Well, and I'll say too, that was another big driving factor in me getting back into it. I'm like, man, the first year I picked the compound back up, I shot a 155 10 point.
there you go.
I could have drilled him with the recurve,
How far?
15 yards.
Woo!
And then
That's top pin
I
club.
mean, I guess I've shot 4 deer since I put down the trad bow the last couple years, and every one of them I could have shot with the trad bow. And I'm like, man, I just wish I would have had that sucker in
You
my
better
hand.
start knocking on his table.
Yep.
Next year, old daddy's gonna walk
Yep.
by it.
See what happens. We'll see what
It's
happens.
just gonna stop at 60 and
Yep.
Now I give you a lot of props for doing
I
that.
appreciate
oh
it.
yeah, dude.
It's
Yeah.
just fun.
I will be the first one to say that I'm not man enough to carry a trad bow. I will be honest. There's
Maybe
no.
someday.
Yeah, I'll grow up one day.
We're all just big children, though,
Yeah,
really.
for real.
Yep.
For real.
So I want to talk a little bit that you're kind of at a unique stage in your life where your boy is how old now?
He's 6.
And he is
He's
pretty deadly with the little stick bow, too.
Yeah. I bought him a little long bow off 3 Rivers Archery. It's a little 20-pound draw, and I'll tell you, he's pretty lethal with it.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's awesome.
obviously I haven't had him hunting with it, but
Right.
as far as
Birds and stuff in the backyard.
oh yeah, he's put a stalk on a couple squirrels, and I thought for sure they were going to get it, but he just missed by a little bit.
That's
But,
awesome.
yeah, we've been having a lot of fun with that, and that was another big driving factor. I thought, I want my kids growing up with a recurve in their hand or something, and if you start out young, man, you'll be pretty deadly.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
I respect that a lot.
And like I said, whenever you're out there shooting, he's out there with you, too, and he's got his own little target
Yep.
and stuff, and he's pretty lights out.
yeah,
It's
he's been
impressive.
doing good. He's been doing good.
Sweet.
So also, you took him hunting a couple times this year.
Yep.
So let's just go a little bit about your season, taking Ridge out with you and
Okay.
being able to shoot some deer with him.
Yeah. So leading up to opening day, we had been driving around, looking for deer and stuff. And there's a private ag field. It's all alfalfa, and it butts up to public. And I knew of a bedding area that's on this public, and every night there was deer pouring into that alfalfa. And I thought, man, that'd probably be a pretty cool hunt to take Ridge on. So I started thinking about how I wanted to do it, and I had a lone wolf, and I had a Novix Hilo, and a buddy at work gave me a seat that he handcrafted back in the day. He was kind of doing his own mobile thing, and he had a little seat that he made to put on a tree, and then he had a little platform that you could kind of jam in the crotch of a tree.
Mm-hmm.
He gave me all that stuff, and I grabbed that seat, and I realized I could bolt it right onto that Novix Hilo seat post, and I would be able to get Ridge a seat low enough that he could sit like you or I would, with his legs.
His legs can touch, his feet can touch the platform then.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, all right, let's do a hanging hunt with a 6-year-old, see how that goes. So,
Dude, I bet he loved that.
oh man, it was fun.
I bet he loved that.
So we showed up, and I kind of got him to a certain point, and I had all this stuff on my back carrying everything, and he's not really carrying anything. I'm just helping him get through the woods. And I put some stuff down, and I carried him up, and we scouted out a little area, and I stuck him by this elm tree we picked out to sit, and I went back, got the stuff. And, obviously I didn't go real high up in the tree with him, but we had a lot of good low cover. So I got the stand set, and I mean, it was awesome. We were sitting there, got in there pretty early, so it was a long sit, but we had a little yearling that came through 3 different times. It was like she was just making laps. She would come out of that bedding area, come out to the alfalfa feed, go through this corn, go back down, just kept doing it. And she would be like 15 yards every time she came through. So Ridge is getting to see this.
That's awesome.
And he's like, Dad, can we shoot it? Can we shoot it? And I was like, well, we're going to let that one go, buddy. It's pretty small. And he's like, okay. And I said, just enjoy it. This is what we're out here to do. Check it out and get to see some deer. So he was having a good time. And then it was probably a half hour daylight left. I see out of the bottom a bigger body deer coming up, and it was a doe, full-size doe. So she's coming up this trail, and I know what trail it is. I mean, it's going to be 12-yard shot right in our lap. And the way I had him set, I mean, it was awesome. I drew back. He's looking right down the arrow. She was quartered to me a little bit, and I just put it right where it needed to be and plugged her. She ran down through and heard her crash. And I look back at him, and he's just got the biggest eyes you ever see. He starts fist bumping. Dad, you shot a deer. It was awesome. Dude. She didn't go far, so we went and got her out of there.
Dude, what a memory.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That will last for a lifetime.
Oh yeah.
That's awesome.
I think he's good luck. A couple years ago, hunting with a trad bow, I had him in a blind with me, and just a massive 8-point. He wouldn't have scored much, but just a heavy rack deer came out. I just about got a shot at him with me too, and that was 2 years prior to this.
Yeah.
Every time I've taken him, we've had some cool things happen.
That's awesome.
That's cool. So yeah, I mean, he got to go out there and see some deer, and then actually you got to shoot a deer with him in there. So that's pretty cool.
Yep. And any deer I've shot since the kids have been little, I've always taken them out,
track them
down, and they're always a big part of it. So they love it. And then I guess moving forward through my season, I didn't really have a whole lot to speak of as far as big buck encounters and things. There was a one nice buck, but overall it was fairly slow. I leaned a little bit too much on one spot this year, and that spot just didn't play out this year.
That'll get you.
I think all that storm damage and stuff, it really got some things shifted around. So, but we'll just fast forward to gun season. I took Ridge out with me. I had a blind set on the edge of this cut cornfield, and where we were hunting, there's a set of tracks, and down in the bottom where the tracks are on, there's always a bunch of bedding, and deer just funnel out into that cut corn every night. So we were sitting there, and we saw a bunch of deer, filtering out all night, and it was getting probably the last half hour again, and there was a little yearling came out, and she's probably like 100 yards down from us, and I see a bigger deer coming through, and I'm looking through the scope on this 12 gauge, and I'm like, I could swear that thing's got white on it like a piebald. And I was like, well, we'll just wait and see if she comes out. I'll get a better look at her. And she gets up a little closer to the field, and I'm looking and looking, and I can't tell if there's something in front of her that's making it look like she's got white on her. until finally she moved and I saw it. And I'm like, oh, snap, she's a piebald. And it was a 100-yard shot. I was going to wait for her to come out, but I knew the gun was dead nuts, and so I sent it. And
Yeah.
No
he was
joke.
with me when I shot a piebald. Yeah.
That's
The first one I've ever seen.
You had
What?
got any trail camera
Never
pictures
seen
or
her.
nothing of her?
Never.
Really?
And in fact, I can't say how credible the story is, but I had heard rumor that a few properties over, some guys have been hunting this property for many years, and they had pictures of that doe supposedly the last 7 years.
Really?
I believe
like I
it.
say, I mean,
I believe it.
It's a stretch, but
I mean, you're gonna be able to identify her every year.
Yeah.
You know, like
Yeah.
there's not a lot of piebalds running around.
Yeah.
right. So
That's
know.
sweet.
yeah, pretty
Believe
cool.
it. That's awesome.
Yep.
That's awesome.
Yep.
Dude, the
Dude, can I
piebald.
borrow your kid?
Yeah.
next
Hey,
year?
anytime, I'm sure he would have a blast. So.
Yeah,
I'm
he
serious.
would.
I'll put him in a little saddle and tie him to the tree and say, "Listen, son, you just give me that good luck."
Seriously, I think there's something to that though. You always hear stories of, oh, we took so and so out and just
First
had,
time
yeah.
luck. Yeah.
Yep. It's pretty cool.
Probably a blessing from God, to be honest.
I agree. I
Yeah.
agree.
First time and young.
Yeah.
Young luck.
Getting them. I mean, there. I agree. There's something to that because, like, you know, if you take a kid out or a first timer out and they have bad experiences, you know, like what's that do for them? So I think there's a little bit of luck involved, and maybe a little something else that kind of gets you motivated, I guess.
Yep.
So that's cool.
So what are you
cool.
gonna do with the hide on that deer?
Well, I would have loved to tell you I'm going to full body mount it, but
I know.
I don't have the room or the extra money that I feel like spending on that.
How pretty is it before we
Oh.
paint the picture to the listeners?
Oh, I mean, it's
Like, are we talking like one spot? Or are we talking
no,
like
it's
90%
It's
white?
like midway up the sides, and
Well,
it's symmetric on both sides.
You got a bunch of pictures of it, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'll have to send
Send them
you
to me,
guys.
and I'll drop them in, and
Yeah, yeah.
Because I haven't even seen this deer.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's sweet.
It's a pretty deer.
It is
It's not
sweet.
just like one little patch up in his shoulder or anything. It's throughout like the whole mid body and kind of
Oh,
up in the
wow.
chest, isn't it?
Like a Holstein cow, kind of?
It's not that patchy. It's like where it's white, it's white. And the other unique thing is where she was just regular brown. She was really dark brown.
Oh,
So the
dude,
contrast
that
is cool.
popped. Yeah.
Yep. But I'll just send you guys another video too, because unfortunately I didn't have Ridge with me on this one. But there was one night, so it was after gun season. I went out with a bow and it was snowing, and just deer out the yin yang coming out and hitting that corn. And I peek through the blind because I hear something back behind me, and here comes this little yearling, and it comes right behind the blind, and you can hear it rummaging around eating corn. And that thing comes right around to the window of my blind from me to Jaret. And I'm looking at it, and I'm like, well, this is awesome, you know?
Yeah.
And so
You said your boy's with you or not? with
he
you?
was,
Oh, okay.
unfortunately,
I'll
he
say,
was
all right,
not.
where's this kid at? I am stealing this
So-
kid for next year.
Yeah. So I took the arrow off my bow, and I got it on video. I'll send it to you. And I reach my arrow out the window of that blind, and I tap it right
No,
on
you
top
don't.
of the head. Promise you.
Fawn.
I've seen the
Promise
video.
you.
It's hilarious.
It's hilarious.
The deer is right there, man.
Yep.
And he's just like,
You hand feed these things or what?
It's pointed away from me, and I tap it on the head, and I'm thinking as soon as I touch this thing, it's going for
Bolt.
the hills.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
It turns around, looks in the blind, and I tap it right on top of the head again, and it still hung out.
That is the craziest
funny.
thing. Yeah, we need to put that. in
Yeah,
video.
yeah,
That's awesome.
I'll send it to you, but yeah,
That's awesome.
So it was just a fun season, and then later in the season, after muzzleloader, even I ended up just spur of the moment hunting one day after work and whacked another doe. So
Dude,
I tagged out in Wayne County on does. So
that's awesome.
I didn't really plan on that. But,
There's nothing
Yeah,
wrong
but
with
you filled the
nothing wrong with
freezer.
that.
yeah,
Yeah.
but you guys eat it up.
oh yeah, no doubt.
So it's like,
Yep.
That's sweet, man.
doesn't hurt nothing.
Yep. Yeah, it was
That's
fun.
awesome.
So I know previously, like when you did your trad hunt or your when you were trad hunting, I know you said you changed up your tactics and then you carried that over with your compound setup then too. Do you think that made a benefit of like where you set up or like what tree maybe you picked out or anything like that?
Yeah, I will say I think it does make you look at things a little different. I mean, obviously as bow hunters, we're all trying to get as close as we can anyways, but man, when you are like, I want a broadside quartered away shot, this is where I think it's going to come. The wind can't hit that or I'm done,
Mm-hmm.
and you're talking a stick bow. I mean, it just changes the way
Realistically,
you look
what
at
is
it.
your like 25 and in? Like what is
Yeah, I
your
would
bread
say
and butter?
25 and in would be
That's what you're setting up on?
Yeah,
25 and
yeah.
in?
but ideally 20 to 15.
Gotcha.
I was gonna say ideally in 25.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're trying to set up even closer in 25.
So you think 25 is pushing it? Like
I mean, realistically, For me, I would say, yeah. I mean, shooting targets, absolutely, no problem. But
Live animal, a little different.
Yeah,
It's different, yeah.
And you're in a tree with a 60-inch bow, and
Yeah.
That's a long bow.
yeah.
that's-
I can kind of walk through some of those trad kills I had too. I mean, that was pretty awesome. So, actually, 2 of them were in the same day. That was pretty cool. There was a big open field. It was cut beans that year, and I had a fence row going right through the middle of it. But down towards the edge of the field, there was like a 50-yard gap where the fence row didn't go all the way to the end. And for whatever reason, deer would just always go and congregate right at the end of that point. And so one night I was like, I'm just going to go sit there and I'll stick a decoy out as a doe and just see what happens. So I had a deer come behind me. It ended up being a button buck. But it came behind me, ran down that fence row, and as soon as it rounded the end of that fence row, saw the decoy, came right in. And this thing's like 10 yards.
No joke.
So I draw back and I shoot. Well, my first shot, the top limb whacked a cherry trunk, and I shot it right over the thing. But one thing about the recurves, they're so darn quiet. It's like they don't even know what's going on.
Yeah.
So I knocked another one, drew back and shot, and it was didn't even
Pinwheeled
know
it.
what hit it. I mean, I hit it great. It didn't act like it was hit, and it moseyed like 10 yards and fell over.
That's awesome.
And then later that evening, I went pretty much same story, shot a doe. And then it was like the beginning of November. I had a 2-year-old 10-point come through cruising, and he hit this trail that was going to be 15 yards away. And to this day, I think that's the best shot I've ever put on a deer. And he was just a little quartered away, and I didn't even, recurve. I
Yeah.
didn't even stop him or anything. He just stopped natural, and I put it, right where you'd want it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And again, it's like he didn't even know what hit him. He just
Really?
took a couple bounds, and he was done. 35, 40 yards.
How many deer have you shot with your trad bow?
Just those 3 that year.
And that was your first year
That
trad
was the
hunting,
first
right?
year.
And you
Yeah.
shot 3 deer with
Yep.
it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Dude,
It's a cold stone killer.
dude, I tell you.
Like I say,
Your
I like
kid
killing
might
deer.
end up missing next year, I promise you that. I'm not even joking. Don't call the cops, just call me.
But you're like, what's your? I guess I don't know really how to word this. You
work through it. We'll figure it out.
yeah,
Yeah,
well,
tell us more, Kev. What are you thinking?
like you don't like to pass a lot of deer, right?
I
mean-
relate to Jared a lot. I
Yeah.
want to shoot every
Oh
single one of them
my.
that goes by.
Oh my.
Dude,
Oh my.
you know what? And it's funny you say that because it is a good thing that I had, like when we go out of state, that not even just out of state, that I have a cameraman with me a lot. Or, dude, I would just end up just whacking and stacking.
I gotta tell Jaret no about 30 times. No, don't do that. No, don't shoot that doe. No, we still got 2 hours of light left. No.
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love big bucks.
Right.
And,
Yeah,
you
and
know,
I'm
I've
not saying
shot-
there's anything wrong with that.
Yeah,
I'm just
yeah.
saying like
Because you've shot some great deer.
Yeah,
Oh,
I've shot
yeah.
a few. I've shot a few nice ones, and it obviously that's great. But I just love being out there hunting.
Dude,
and,
yeah, I know it.
when I can put some meat on the table, I'm happy. So,
Nothing wrong with that.
yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's cool. That's
Yeah,
really cool.
That's really, and that's, I mean, when we go out of state, it's, pretty much everything's game.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And sometimes when I come back, I'm just like, man, I mean, I want to shoot a big deer, but obviously, 1, it's not always going to happen, and 2,
Out of state's a little different though.
yeah, it is.
It was fun too. Kevin and I and a couple buddies went on a hunting trip down to Southern Ohio a couple
Yeah.
years ago, and we were all just kind of struggling to get on deer.
there was like no deer in the area. Like
Yeah.
the acorn fall was like terrible that year, and like we spent how long were we down there? Like 4 or 5 days.
Yeah, I think I got down there first, so I think I had a week in it, but everybody else, 4 or 5 days.
And like we were targeting like what you traditionally look for in like a big timber area, like acorn flat, benches, all that stuff, and like no deer were showing up. Period.
We
Like,
saw more deer grazing on the side of the road than anything.
well, and that's what made us think like we got to look for like green grass areas and stuff like that, and then or like a more unique area, just something different than what we'd been targeting. And Bryce over here was the only guy to tag out, or not tag out, but you harvested a buck then.
I got a doe too.
yeah. Well, yeah. After I left, then yeah.
Yep. But yeah, that doe, she was just feeding in a like a gas line right away.
Really?
But then the buck, I mean, I just snuck into this spot that we went to school down there, me and a couple other buddies down at Hocking, and so I was kind of familiar with this area. and I slipped in to where I thought some good bedding would be, and I was just getting ready to set up my stand, and this buck comes up out of the bottom, and he wasn't anything big. I mean, he was like a year and a half,
Yeah.
but he had a cool extra point coming off his base that wrapped in front. And that one was just a sheer, you know what? Nobody's seeing deer. It'd be cool if we put something down.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I
yeah.
whacked
Yeah.
that thing.
That's cool. That's cool.
That's my biggest, like, I'm all for a deer with character. So a year and a half old that's got some funky rack,
Oh my.
it's like, oh,
Here we go.
yeah.
We're telling stories now.
And then we actually took that deer out. How we took the youth hunter out.
Oh, yeah.
on a stick
On a
then.
pole.
That was
Worked
cool.
out great.
Yeah.
Better than dragging it.
Oh, absolutely.
And I don't know why we don't do that more.
Mm-hmm.
It was so much easier.
Yep.
So much.
And I wouldn't have had the idea until we came
Right.
up, or not came up with it, but we used it. and
Right. Yeah, it was,
was-
simple. I mean,
It was awesome.
We used
it
an
on your
old
shoulder.
oar,
Oh, that'd be
and it was
perfect.
like,
We'll have to try this.
I'm telling you
sometime.
what.
Makes a big
I
difference.
wish we would have had one. I should have just made one when we were down there in Kentucky and shot that doe. That walk would have been so easy.
Yeah.
It is a lot. I mean, it is significantly easier when you do that.
Yeah.
It's a lot harder to drag them through beans that are waist high too.
That's true.
Sorry,
I'll tell you,
sorry,
there's
farmer.
another way too that is a lot easier than I realized. And when I shot that piebald, I'm like, man, I don't want to go dragging this hide through all this
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
So I was like, I'm just gonna throw it on my shoulders and carry it out. And I mean, I'm not a big
Like
guy.
this.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not that big
Sack
a
of
guy. And
potatoes.
it really wasn't that bad. So I would rather do that than drag it. I'll
Yeah.
tell you that. So
Dude, I'm telling you, I hate dragging deer.
I know.
I
It's
do.
horrible.
I hate it.
it's a lot of work.
It's
I'm over there
horrible.
huffing
It
and
is.
puffing after like 50 yards, and I tell Jared, "All right, you got the rest of it to the truck." And old Jared just runs with the sucker back
Yeah,
to the truck.
I try. But yeah.
Dude, I drug that doe in Kentucky like 20
Yeah, I
yards, and then you drove it the rest of the 300.
That's
You're like,
true.
just take my backpack and I'll take care of the deer. I said, okay, that's a good deal for me.
Yeah.
So I carried your bow in your backpack, and
Yeah.
that was it.
But that's the way to do it, man.
Yeah.
That stick. I want to just. The thing is you can't make a really good one, and like it's not like you can keep it with you.
Right.
Just
Yeah.
carry it
Truck.
around with you in the woods.
You just gotta improvise on
Yeah,
the
you got to
fly.
find the right one.
Yeah, you definitely got to find the right one, because if it's not green enough, it's just gonna.
Mine would break in half like halfway through the trip. We'd be
Yeah.
trucking,
because there's a lot of weight bouncing up and down on the. thing.
It moves a lot when
Yeah.
you're walking.
break
Mhm.
right in half. I do want to touch on something real quick. I know you were checking your notes, but keep that thought. Your trad bow. I'm curious what arrow setup you're running.
So the first round, I went pretty extreme. I don't think I'm gonna go quite as crazy this time. I was running like 670 grain arrow with like a 250 grain broadhead. It was a single bevel cutthroat, and I mean it zipped through everything. But
Did you get pass-throughs on everything?
oh yeah, no problem, no problem.
It makes you mad, doesn't it?
Dude, I'm telling you, that was not. I'm telling you, dude.
Yeah, I know. No, I know.
That deer was
I
not
know.
meant to be mine.
Yeah,
It was not meant to be mine.
we're talking about that Indiana buck.
I think
that
I
he hit.
saw the clip that
Yeah.
it was like the arrow just bounced off
Bounced
the
off.
dart.
So that arrow was just shy of 600 grain.
Really?
Yeah, with
And you had a fixed blade, didn't you?
yeah, cut on contact, single bevel.
That's messed up.
I'll talk to you about it off air. Like
Yeah.
that deer was.
The
not
deer
meant
had
to
a
be mine.
steel plate guarding it.
God said no.
Yeah.
I remember seeing the video and I was just like,
Yeah, dude, that was
Yeah.
a heavy arrow.
And like,
moving.
you know what drives me nuts about that stupid video? Everybody comments, must have been expandable.
Yep.
Must have been shooting a 300. You know, what poundage are you pulling? It's like, dude, if you would just watch the video, I'm running a 600 grain arrow, 70
Should've been
pound bow.
butter.
It should have just blew through anything it touched, and it went.
Yeah.
What amazed me was how many people are like, "Oh, you forgot to even screw on a broadhead."
Oh
The
yeah.
amount of people that commented, he doesn't have a broadhead on his arrow. Do they not realize that that's the arrow that broke off when I went down and grabbed it?
Because you're missing your whole outsert. too.
Yes.
Jeez.
Sorry, I don't mean to go
It's
on a
alright.
tantrum.
Even that arrow though, like even if you hit the knuckle there,
Oh yeah,
Dude, I should have got 6 inches. Even if
Yeah.
I hit the
it
hardest
have
bone
shattered it.
possible, single bevel should have broke that bone, and I should have got at least 6-7 inches. A steel plate. I would have got more penetration on a steel plate than I did on that deer.
Pretty much.
It's like ridiculous. Sorry.
No, you're good. So
Sorry.
with that being said, this new bow, I'm gonna shoot for like mid 5s, and I had bought some iron wills for my compound, and you know those are expensive, so I'm gonna
Gonna run
tailor my
those.
new setup to accommodate the iron wills. So
Sweet.
yeah, that's what I'll be doing.
Sweet.
That's what Eric Sigley. I'm pretty sure I think he had bought.
Is that
some
what he
iron
runs?
wells.
I'm not sure.
Do you run outserts
But-
to boost the weight?
Yeah, I'm
Like
doing the
stainless?
ethics. The aluminums put me where I wanted to be.
Oh, you're running the aluminums.
Yeah, the aluminum post. And
What arrow are you running?
It's Easton Carbon Legacy.
What size, I guess?
They're the 204 ID.
Oh, they're 204.
409,
So they're actually a smaller shaft.
Yep.
Gotcha.
They should be pretty sweet. They're the Fred Eichler edition.
Hey.
I haven't shot them yet, honestly. They're still in the box.
I'm
so.
sure they'll shoot just fine.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's
What-
cool.
Did you want to touch on? Are you done with your arrow setup stuff?
Yeah. I'm good.
Okay. Sorry. Do you want to touch on what you kind of wanted to talk about for this podcast
Yeah.
to start
yeah.
with? 'Cause I think that'd be
that
really
was a big thing. A big thing for me. I'm starting to enjoy I guess the older I get. I've always kind of been a loner of a hunter, and I guess helping my kid get into it now. He's still young, but I guess I'm starting to enjoy helping people get into it more than I used to. And I had met a buddy from church, and he was wanting to get into it, so I had him over one day. And it's just a cool conviction. I mean, you guys are in the faith, you know what it's like to be convicted and how profound that can be. But I'm just spilling my guts. Everything I know about hunting, I'm telling this guy. Shot angles, tree stands. Everything I knew. So I'm right in the middle of telling him all this stuff, and I just feel the only thing I can explain it as the Holy Spirit prompting me, and it just was like, who could you teach this fluently about the Bible?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, that's a pretty good point. You think of it as
Touche.
us hunters, nowadays, especially, you got the hunting public and all these guys sharing all these tactics. I mean, we've all got it at our fingertips, and
Yep.
we're all in it. And I mean, I've put a lot of focus on learning a lot of these new tactics and things, and we know all this stuff. What are the thermals going to do, or what's this buck going to do? Where's he like to bed? We know all this stuff, but I think it's important for those that are in the faith to prioritize making sure we can share our faith as well.
Yeah.
So I'm not there yet. I can't tell you I can teach you about the Bible like I can hunting, but I'm sure going to try. So that's where I'm at there. And then, just for anybody out there that's not a believer now, and I'm sure everybody listening to this is a hunter, in the Bible, Romans 1, it talks about how just the creation around us is enough of God's proof that he exists.
Mhm.
And
Yep.
we got to make sure we're not worshiping the creation and not, worshiping who
Not
created.
the creator.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
when you're out there hunting, just keep an open mind. I mean, how'd this stuff all come into order the way it is? And that's been a big thing for me the past several years. So,
Yep.
yeah, I just wanted to share that.
Yeah,
It
no, I
was
think
a
that's a
No,
good point.
I
challenge
appreciate
for
that,
me
yeah.
this year.
Yeah, and I think playing off what you said is, I think, and this is for me also, I think part of the problem on why
Excuse me.
maybe you don't share and get in deep like we do about the hunting stuff is because we haven't taken the time to learn it.
Yep.
I mean, for myself, you get like in the spot and you're like, well, what do I say next?
Yeah.
I don't know what to tell you. I can't answer that question.
Yeah.
And it's just the fact that I haven't read enough and I haven't studied enough. And, that's part of it. And,
Oh, yeah.
And I think that is the reason for a lot of people is they're like, man, I'm not as confident to talk about that as
Yeah.
I am about going deer hunting.
Yep.
Well, I think too, like you're not wanting to not necessarily not wanting, but like come up with a hard question and they ask you and you don't have the answer for it. You
Right.
kind of like you're like, well, what do I do now? And it's like, well, they're almost because I got a buddy that's kind of like, well, how do you not know about your own faith?
Yeah.
Well, there's so many unanswered questions that we don't know. There's stuff in the Bible, but it's like I don't have every exact answer for you. It's
Yeah.
tough.
Well, and it's hard too because obviously we can't sit here on paper and prove anything to anybody. But we who are in the faith have had these convictions and these things that it's like there is absolutely no way this is a coincidence.
Yep.
And so that's why I'm really saying, just keep an open heart when you're out there hunting and you're out there enjoying just doing anything outdoors or, watching your kids play or anything like that.
Mhm.
It's like this didn't happen by accident.
The Adam walks. Dude, when
Yeah.
he said that in that last podcast,
Yeah.
it hit me
Yeah.
so hard. Like,
Yeah. I know.
it's honestly.
In our two, I
Would've
guess
been
it'll be
three
two or
ago.
three podcasts
David.
ago from when this comes. Yeah, David, he was telling us about how Adam would just take a lot of walks
in nature and
in
talk to
nature.
God.
Just all he did was walk and talk to God, and how some of us need to get back to that.
Yep.
And yeah, he was talking about, the guest on our podcast was talking about how he calls them his Adam walks, where he'll walk.
That's what he tells people. Like
Yeah.
people be like, well, what do you just go out there and just sit in a tree all day long? And he's like, I call a lot of this stuff my Adam walks, because it's the time that I get to be out
And talk to God.
talk to God.
Yep.
And when he said that too, it was like
Dude, it hit me so
That's-
hard.
Yeah.
It's
half
real.
the time that's what
It's
I'm doing.
real. It's,
I was gonna say, I mean, that's honestly 90% of the reason why I look forward to deer season every year. I mean, you get to slow down, sit in the stand, take it all in, and just
Talk
get
to
back.
God.
Yeah.
make yourself right. I feel like you get caught up in the hustle and bustle of
Yeah.
life, and then when you get in a tree stand or you're getting a saddle or even sitting in the woods, it's just like sometimes you just sit there and you're like, yeah, like you said, this isn't a coincidence, you
Right.
know. And you
Right.
just take it all in, and you get right with God, and
Mhm.
it's one of them things.
And obviously, I don't think that us having these hobbies is bad whatsoever. I think that these skills and the desires that we have are a blessing from God.
It's instinct, you know.
And I think we just have to be careful that the adversary doesn't use it against us. That's a
Yep.
big distraction.
yeah,
Yeah, that and that we don't put it above him.
Mhm.
Yep.
Because when you put it above him, it just crumbles.
Yep.
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 But yeah, that was definitely one big thing that came to my mind and it convicted me, when we talked about this before the podcast. It's like, that's probably the number one reason why I don't lead with talking about God, is because, I haven't taken enough time to really soak it in and
Answer every
Just-
question,
yeah.
basically.
just
Mhm.
really learn
Yeah.
learn what I need to learn.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
and hey, I mean that's the main reason I wanted to bring it up, because I thought, this has been a good challenge for me, and I imagine we're all in the same boat.
Yeah.
If we can all just up our game a little bit and stay in the Word and walk in faith and in the Spirit, we're gonna have the answers to those
Right.
Yeah.
questions.
Not all of them, but some.
No,
yeah.
absolutely not. But we'll have a lot better defense for our faith and be able to help people
Yeah.
walk it out and see what it's all about. I mean, none of us sitting here are perfect.
No.
Yeah.
We
No.
just admit that we're not.
Yep.
Yep.
I love it.
No, that hits home. That hits
Yeah.
home.
Yeah.
I know. It's good stuff, man. It's good stuff.
I really, yeah. Thanks for bringing that up.
Yeah, no problem.
And it's something that like I never really thought of, like when you're getting somebody into hunting or teaching them something new that you learned, you're all in about it. You're telling them everything, like you said, you're spilling your guts.
Yeah.
And when something like this comes up, like you didn't even think about it.
No.
So-
And
it
Go
was
ahead.
cool.
Go ahead.
no, you're good.
Yeah, and you almost like jump on the fact, when someone's talking about hunting, you just jump
Yeah.
right in. You're like, yeah, I know what you're talking about. And then you just keep talking. We don't always take that same
And we've got
ecstatic
our-
approach to
Yeah.
everything.
And we've got our conviction. Well, this is why I believe a heavy arrow is awesome. Or
Yeah.
this is
Right.
why I shoot a Matthews.
Yeah.
Or,
Right.
and
You just need to translate that.
yep,
Yeah.
Yeah.
have that same passion. And we're supposed to love them with all our mind, our heart, and our soul. So we got to leave some room
Yeah.
Yep.
for improvement.
Yep.
Yeah.
100%. My question is, how do you do that without turning people off?
Gosh, that's the biggest thing. I mean,
I'm not putting you on the spot.
No,
It's for
no,
everybody.
Yeah.
yeah, that's I think the biggest.
That's my biggest
That's
thing.
the biggest dilemma. But I think the biggest thing is, from what I've seen, everybody's got a bad taste for Christians and
Yeah.
maybe the
Hypocrites.
way that, and you know what? Everybody's a hypocrite. I mean,
yeah.
like I said,
We're
we're
sinners,
sinners and
yep.
we're going to try and figure out how to not be.
Yeah.
And it's by these little convictions, like what I just had, that's the Lord trying to grow us in our faith. We're not going to be perfect, at the flip of a switch.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
I think if we just show that to people and we're vulnerable and say, listen, I have the same struggles you have. I've got the same dirt. I've had doubts about things, but just like there's resources out there about hunting, there's just as many resources out there to answer your questions about your faith questions.
Mhm.
And, we're at a day and age where I can get on the computer and look up anything to support what I already believe. So
Yeah.
I would just challenge people, if you got these hard questions, don't just look at the naysayers. Look at the side that's saying, here, this is the truth. Because the fact is, Jesus is the truth, and the truth will set us free.
Yep.
Once you know the truth, you can look at it and debunk it a heck of a lot easier.
Mhm.
And, So I guess in my walk, I just try to treat everybody the same. You know, doesn't really matter how you treat me. I'm going to try to do my best to treat you the same.
Yeah.
Whether I'm mad or not, you know.
Yeah.
So that's all we can really do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it is such a hard question,
Mm-hmm.
but it's like, I think, I don't know if something that, I don't think that people should take something that I say and be like, that is what turns them away from Christianity.
Right.
I mean, I think that we just always need to be, you know, not promoting, but we always need to, you know, we talk about when you do like anything social media, it's like, well, you know, we're not preachers, but
Yeah.
we need to put forth our biggest effort to be
Yeah.
putting it out there
Mhm.
that this is what we believe. And yeah, it's like you don't have to agree.
Right.
You know, you can have whatever opinion you want, but you know, don't look bad on us because we're sharing our opinion about it.
Right.
You know, that's, I don't know.
Well, and especially in a time that truth is under attack,
Right.
we can't just lay down and let that
I
side
know.
win. You know.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, there's plenty of opportunity for us to share these days.
I think that's why we started Born Again Bow Hunting, you know?
Yeah, and I give you guys props for that. I mean,
Yeah. It's hard though. It's like it's trying to like meet that middle, in my opinion, because like if you know, we were talking about preaching. You know, if you preach, I feel like it turns people away. But if you like slowly mention things and just like kind of lead by example, I
Yep.
think that helps a lot.
Yeah. It
So-
does a lot.
But
Yeah. It's hard. It's just
And
everybody's
it's
got
like,
a different view.
yeah, it's such a personal thing too. Like your relationship with Christ is like your relationship with Christ. You know what I mean? Like you experience things differently than I experience things.
Right.
It's the same. It comes out of the same book. It's the same. You know, God is God.
right.
But like for somebody to ask me like, what does God feel like? Well, I can't explain that to you because it's my personal connection with Christ. It's not, you know, like I can't explain like, oh, I get this feeling or like this ghost comes and talks to me. It's like, no, it's not that. It's just
Right.
it's like this voice in your head that just, you know, it's not, it's a higher power.
Yeah.
And that's my hardest thing. Like when people ask like, well, how do I know that, you know, God's real or Jesus is real or whatever? And it's like, I can't answer that because you've never had that personal connection, and I have, and
Right.
I can't explain that, you know? That's the hard part for me, at least. Maybe you guys could, you know.
Well, yeah, and it's something that it's like if you go after it, and when it hits you, you'll know.
You
Oh, yeah.
It's not
There
something that
is
you have to ask,
no-
be like, hey, was what I just experienced,
Yeah.
was that God? And it's like,
Yeah.
it is an undescribable feeling.
There is no question.
Yeah.
There's no doubt.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And you know, it says if we seek him with everything we've got, he's going to reveal himself to us.
Yeah.
And so that's where people have to put in the legwork and say, you know what, I am going to open my heart and I'm going to try this. And I'll read the Bible. You know, there's many years I didn't even read the Bible, and I had this big old grand scheme on who I thought God was. I was a master idolater, you know. And it's just, man, if you're in that boat, just pick up the Bible and read it. It's going to
Yep.
crush you.
Yeah.
All the
Yep.
things that you thought who Jesus is, he gets a bad rap, but you start reading his word and he's not who the world paints him to be. So,
Yeah, and like it's something we mentioned earlier is if you've ever, I know someone I've heard somebody say before, it's like, well, this guy was he said he was a Christian and you know, he said this horrible thing to me, and so now I don't listen to anybody that's like that. Listen, you're not perfect and he's not either. So
Yeah.
yep.
we're all still humans, man.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that every Christian you ever meet is going to be nice to you or going to do the right thing. It's part of it.
Yeah.
We're humans.
We're all
Yep.
sinners.
But hopefully that person takes a step to try and, you know, right the wrong, but still we're not above anybody.
Right.
We're
Don't
still
worship
humans.
me. You got to
Yeah.
worship Jesus.
Yeah, we still do the wrong things all the time. It's just part of it. I think some people get the wrong impression that, you know, Christians they think they're perfect and they never do anything wrong, and it's like, man, it's the opposite.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We mess up a lot.
Yep.
Yeah.
But it's the conviction and the writing it that
repenting.
repenting that needs to take place.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, honestly, I've been in the boat where you go to church and you get the feeling that everybody around you is perfect. But I guarantee you walk into any church, you walk up to somebody and say, hey, what was your sin? What took you down? What's your story? We all have that junk in our life. Nobody is perfect.
Everybody's got demons.
And so don't be intimidated,
Yeah.
Just talk to people and they'll tell you.
Mm-hmm.
They'll tell you your story,
Yeah.
their story.
Look at the disciples,
Right.
They're murderers, killers, I mean,
Paul
Come on.
wrote a
They
lot
were
of the
from-
Bible,
yeah, Paul
the New
wrote
Testament.
half the Bible
Yeah.
or 3/4 of the Bible. And, it's like, and he was chasing around Christians, killing them.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's
every,
like,
every walk of life. is that.
God uses people in mysterious ways, and he has a plan for every single person.
Yeah.
Every single person listening to this podcast right now, he has a plan for you.
Absolutely.
So just stick with it, man. And if you have any questions, just reach out to us, because we don't have the answers, but at least we can maybe point you in the right direction.
Yep. We can maybe help you get there in
Yeah.
some
Yep.
way.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yep.
I appreciate you wanting to talk about that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Hey, like I said, man, it's not me. It's him.
Yeah.
But I'm glad to do it. I'm glad you guys had me
I'm
on.
glad we have the platform for you to come and talk about it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Talk
got-
a little deer and talk a little God.
Can I talk about one thing, Kev?
Yeah.
We're like, what, 45?
46, yeah.
So I got a question let's make it a round table discussion. So I kind of want to talk about one of my biggest dilemmas in life. So God has blessed me with this like addictive personality. And I have to be very careful with how I chase my addictive personality, as in like hunting. I like to idolize a lot of things.
Mhm.
So like I was a college athlete. So like I played soccer growing up. So I idolized soccer growing up. I thought that I was going to be this big old professional, and like went to college and like, dabbled at Cleveland State for a little bit, and then went to a smaller school, kind of got knocked down the peg, realized I wasn't as good as I was and or as good as I thought I was. And I think God was kind of like telling me like, hey, knock it off. Got out of soccer, graduated college, and started building cars, and hunted still, but like started building cars and built this Fox body, and long story short, totaled the car. And I think God, once again, Mustang tamer.
One of those crowd tamers.
Yeah. So I think God was, and then it was a freak accident. It wasn't me
Yeah.
screwing around.
Yeah.
I think God was kind of telling me like,
It's not
and
your thing.
I was like idolizing the car, like I wanted everything. I was thinking about what I wanted to do, like what can I put on this thing? How much more money can I spend? How much more hours do I have to work to buy this part? And it's like, in hunting, you can do the same thing.
Oh,
We were talking about that, like guys that are chasing these giant deer, like, idolizing. And I find myself sometimes looking at it and be like, hold on, Matt, slow down. Like, appreciate what he's given you.
Mm-hmm.
Appreciate the ability that he has given you and the personality to chase these mature whitetail, but put him first. I guess my question is, how do you guys cope with that? Because that is one of my hardest things in life, is like, I feel like I go 110% into something and it's like 100%, pedal to the floor kind of
Mhm.
thing. And like, sometimes I got to sit back and realize that that's not what we need to
Yeah.
do,
Well, I'll just be honest. I mean, I have the same exact struggle. Like I said earlier, I'm the kind of guy that I'm all in or I'm all out.
Mm-hmm.
And so I even told my wife when I bought this recurve, I'm like, I need you to help me stay in check, because I know if I pick that thing up, I'm going to want to shoot it and shoot it and shoot it. And it's going to end up cutting into Bible time or prayer time.
Yep.
And I guess I don't really have an answer. I'm walking that out too, but I don't know. I guess I try to look at everything as, it says the devil is like a roaring lion. He's walking about seeking to destroy whoever he can. And like I said earlier, we're given these desires, and that's great. And they can either glorify God or they can be used as our weakness.
Yeah.
So I try to look at everything as, here's where I'm vulnerable. Let's make sure that stays in check. And I think having some accountability partners is good too. Hey, if you see me slipping, your closest friends are gonna know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Keep me in check.
Yeah.
I know, like the past few years, for the hunting season here is end of September through January,
Yeah, you can say January, February.
So, like, I can typically only hunt Saturdays. So I don't know what that number is, but it's a lot less than what you think, just because how many Saturdays are in a month? 4?
Well, let's just count October, November, December, and And let's count January. So 4, 8, 12, 16.
So you got 16 sets.
And that's if there's nothing going on that weekend.
Exactly. So how many times during the week does somebody have a birthday party? Very few. It's always on a Saturday, right? So that takes a day out of your hunting season. And for me, I was very selfish, I guess, as far as like, okay, this is my Saturday. I should be out in the woods. And instead I'm at a birthday party or a family get together or something like that. And I would go to that gathering, but mentally I was not there. I was either mad or just like I should be in the
Frustrated
woods
that you
hunting.
weren't hunting,
Exactly.
you were
I'm
doing
frustrated.
something else.
That's a good, yeah. So like, I feel like once I realized that this year, like I need to set back and like, okay, family's more important. I need to go do that stuff. And like you said, have an accountability partner of somebody to like, hey, you know, we can go next Saturday or we can do this, or the weather's not even that good anyway. You blow something out of the county, it's not as important as what maybe you think. And it's hard to realize that because like hunting is your passion and you wait all season, how many hours and days of scouting
Much
and running
money,
trail
effort,
camera and everything
time.
else
Yep.
for 16 sets. And that's without taking time off work or anything, but
Yeah.
so I don't know. That really hit me this year as far as like I need to set back a little bit and prioritize, I guess.
Yeah, that, and for me, I try, like, I just don't, unless everything falls into place, I don't hunt Sunday mornings anymore. Like, I always go to church. Not that you need to go to church, but it's like, I feel like when I just take that time, it's like, I am choosing this over hunting.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have to. And every once in a while I do. I'll hunt a Sunday morning.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, I think that you need to set aside the same amount, if not more, time to spend that time with Jesus than you are hunting. So it's like, you need to prioritize throughout your week that, okay, I'm going to spend this time praying, reading my Bible, whatever it is. And you need to do that more than you're hunting. I mean, the more time you spend hunting, then the more time that you are, seeking God in theory,
Right.
you are putting hunting above God.
Right.
Because it's whatever you're spending your most time doing is your top priority. And I know it sounds hard, but man, you need to read your Bible and you need to spend time praying and such way more than we do.
Oh yeah.
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 Way more than I do. I don't do it near enough.
No.
And for me, it's like the best days that I've had hunting has been the days that I went, got set up, sat in a tree, totally wasn't paying attention to anything that was going around me, pulled out my phone, pulled up my Bible app, and I was just, I read through quite a bit. I read quite a bit, and then it's like, okay, I feel like God satisfied me with, I'd been sitting there reading. I bet it was, one time I know it was around 2 hours. I probably maybe looked around me one time. I was in the quiet, and I just felt like it was, I was content. And then I got to a point and I was like, you know what? I just felt content, like I had read enough, and I put down my phone, and then, 10 minutes, boom, I saw deer. It's like, I feel like when I take the time out of my week to prioritize reading the Bible and everything, I feel like the times that I'm like, okay, I'm going to go hunting Saturday evening. It's always way better for me than if I would just not have taken any time, and it's like all I did all week was focusing, okay, where am I going to sit?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm spending my time, looking at the weather and being like, okay, I need to sit here. Oh no, I can't sit there because the wind's going to be wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Not saying that doing that stuff is wrong, but I think you need to equalize it with spending your time getting closer to God. And for me, that has really just brought me more peace.
Yeah.
It's also going to set your perspective better.
Right.
And like you said, instead of focusing on those little details and stressing out, you can just kind of be like, you know what, I'm just going to do my best and focus on God and Jesus and the Bible. And
and I'm not trying to say that you can't do that stuff still.
Right.
But I'm saying you just need to make sure that you're not, if you look at like a week's perspective, it's like if you sat there and thought about for 4 days, spent it hunting and not doing any Bible reading and thinking about strategy and everything else. And then, here, I've got an open day. It's raining. I can't go hunting. So, okay, I guess I'll sit here and read my Bible.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's not, it's not what you need to be doing. Is from my point of view.
And we're out there have fun anyways. So
Right.
Don't stress it so
Right.
much, you know?
Yeah. I think that's one of my things that I'm going to work on next year is I stress so much in the woods that sometimes I don't realize how much fun it actually is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm stressing about, this or that or but I also kind of want to make a point off of what you said for anybody that's listening that's still here. We greatly appreciate you.
Yeah.
But I also want to make a point. Anybody that's like on the fence or like a non-believer, don't listen to what we're saying and be like, oh, well, if I go to church and if I read the
Right.
Bible, then God's going to bless me. It doesn't work that way.
Right.
Okay, so like God has a plan for everybody. Our plan might be a little bit different than yours, like our plan might be this podcast, it might be YouTube, it might be social media with Born Again Bowhunting. It might not be, but like God might be blessing us with opportunities to talk of like what we're doing right now. And it very well could not be either. But what I'm getting at is like don't socialize or don't like real or what's the word I'm looking for? Don't think that just because I go to church or just because I read in the Bible every once in a while that God's going to bless you through your life. Like it doesn't work like that.
Yeah, he never
So,
promises.
No, and
things
like
are gonna be.
his timing is his timing. It's not your timing. Like if you want it now and it's not happening, it's probably because it's not your timing. Like just sit back, relax, and like just pray about it. That's the biggest thing. Is pray to God on what he wants you to do, not what you want to do.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing.
Because most of the time they are completely different.
Because
things.
100% of the time they're not the same thing.
Yep.
So
Absolutely.
But God blesses us with abilities, and I feel like you have to use those abilities that he blesses you with for his name or for his his good,
glory. Yeah.
his glory, yes. So like whatever God blessed you with, obviously it's not because of you, it's not because of, your parents or gene pool or whatever it could be, but like God blessed you in very specific characteristics, habits, ways of life. Capitalize on those and use them for good,
Yeah.
Yep.
And maybe I'm just halfway decent hunter, but maybe God blessed me that way so I can have this podcast, talk to people. I feel like sometimes I'm a rambler and I can talk for hours, and like maybe that's a blessing that God gave me to do this.
Yeah.
But there's also things that I want to do in life that I just can't.
Yeah.
So it's like I guess I just wanted to put that out there. Is like don't feel like everything's gonna work in your favor if you go to church or if you read the Bible, because I promise you it won't.
Yep.
Right.
So you just have to have faith, and you have to trust in his process and his timing, because nobody knows when it is, but you just got to trust in it.
Yeah. It's well put.
Well, do we have anything else?
I'm all out of Arnie's.
It's over.
Wrap it
Yeah,
up.
podcast is over.
Sorry.
Well,
We're good.
okay. I got one final closing question for you, and that is, what has hunting taught you that you can use for everyday life?
Yep. And get deep with it.
Oh boy. Well, everybody says patience. I know, for sure, patience. I mean, that's just a no-brainer. But I think for me, just connecting with the outdoors and like we talked earlier, we're left without excuse. God's there, and just having that in my life, it was just always cool growing up, because I always felt like I was born to do it. I didn't really come from a hunting family.
Mhm.
I had an uncle that hunted, but I just can't remember a time in my life when I didn't like hunting. And I think that it has made me who I am. It gives you perseverance. Like I said, patience. You just get driven to accomplish your goals, and just the connection and being outside.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's great.
I think it's great because there's someone out there that's listened to like 3 or 4 of these, and every person that says patience, I bet it's just tugging at them.
Yep.
Somebody needs to hear it, and they're like,
Maybe I need some patience.
yeah. Every time somebody says it. But listen, if you have patience, patience is just a great spot regardless.
Yep.
I mean,
You need it. I
Yep,
mean, for
you
every
need it.
aspect of
Yeah.
life,
Yep.
it comes in handy.
Yeah.
Especially parenting.
And honestly, it's something that I find that everybody can work on.
Yep.
Like I don't know, there's a handful of people out there that maybe are like really they have
Yeah.
really
That are-
good patience.
that are patient enough.
like name like 5 people that that are just like so patient that nothing bothers them. It's impossible.
I don't think you could name 5.
It's impossible.
Yeah.
It's something that
that's a
everybody
good point.
struggles with,
Yeah.
Like you know, there's always something that's gonna poke the bear,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
and like we can always improve with patience.
Yeah, I agree.
You know, we're never, you know, we don't be complacent. You know, there's always improvement. I guess I'm done rambling.
You did a good job.
Well, thanks for coming on, Bryce.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Thanks for talking about some of the hard stuff that some people don't want to talk about, or it's hard to bring up, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely.
But if you want to drop social media, now would be the time.
Yeah.
Oh, let's see.
Plug yourself.
I have a shared Instagram with my wife, and I believe the name of it is Wild Weaver. What is it?
It's a Wild Weaver Tribe.
It used to be Tribe, but
Dude,
now
that is the best handle
Dude,
ever.
they had some really good ones. Each time they had a kid,
yeah.
I don't mean to sound it like that, but like it was like Weaver Party of 3, Weaver Party of 4. It was pretty good.
Yeah, I don't know. Just look up Bryce and Lindsay Weaver. You'll find us.
Wait, hold on.
Jared's digging it up.
It's loading.
Yeah.
Kevin, stall for us, or Jaret, stall for us.
Here, so I have something to add before we go ahead, Jared. You can look it
I
up
don't
here.
think he has the Wi-Fi, Kev. You're gonna have to do it.
Okay.
Talk and look at the same
I got
time.
something. So the doe that I hit when you and I went hunting,
The doe that you hit.
the doe that I hit that
Oh
morning.
yeah. It's a truck.
Yeah, with my truck.
Okay.
Well, the doe that ran into the side of my truck. There was always this little bump, you know, like we saw that little dent it made in my door.
Yeah.
So I really hadn't looked at it closely. Dude, the sunlight was hitting my truck perfectly today. The whole, almost half the side of my bed is pushed in.
Really?
Yeah. It's way worse than I thought.
Oh my.
The sun was hitting it perfect today, and I was like,
Well, let's
oh.
get some hot water to plunger, boys,
Yeah.
and we'll pull that right out.
Yeah, we're going to need to, because I'm like, man, that looks a lot worse than I thought.
We'll pull her out. One nice day, we'll pull her out.
Stupid doe.
Okay, so it's Wild Weaver 5. And I also wanted to add, I've never been to it yet, but if there's anybody interested in traditional archery or they're in it now, there's a big get-together. It's called the Eastern Traditional Archery Rendezvous, ETAR, known as the acronym. But it's over in Pennsylvania, and it's July 27th. I think it's that weekend, but I'm definitely going. I'm taking my boy, and we're going with another buddy. So,
Is Garrett going?
yep.
Cool.
Yep.
There you go.
If
That's
anybody has any interest, I mean, like I said, I've never been there, but it's the biggest traditional archery get together in the world. They got over 200 3D targets and all kinds of fun stuff.
That'd
so,
be cool.
yeah.
Have fun with it, yeah.
So one thing I wanted to add was Into the Stream Ministries at the end of March 31st, we're going to have a little film fest. So I just wanted to put that out there. It's
Yeah, you need to talk to me about that. I don't know what
We'll-
that anything
we'll
is.
talk
so
about it
We'll
here.
talk about it. So
Okay.
we're getting mostly local guys that either have made a YouTube video or can put something together in a short period of time, and we're going to have like a mini film fest, like a ATA for
When
local
is this?
guys. March
End of
31st. It'll be at the net.
Do I have a month?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you got a month. You got a month.
Oh yeah, because I got enough time to do that.
So I just wanted to drop that. If there's anybody local, we'll definitely share like the info as far as the address and the time and stuff like that.
and we will
but
be there
It'll be fun
at
lot
the,
of-
at the church.
at the church. Yep. It'll be popcorn and drinks.
Yeah, and
So-
if you don't have anything to add this year and you're local, make one this year.
Hey, listen.
Next year.
Somebody bring me an Arnie Palmer, and you will make my day.
yeah.
I will be your best friend.
Yeah. So yeah, watch out for that, because
Yeah.
that'll be
fun.
sweet, and it's only gonna get better.
Oh yeah.
What kind of entry? Like a little bit more detail.
So if you do not film, we're just gonna get some like photos, like a grip and grin is what Eric calls them, like you holding a deer or a fish or something. So we'll filter those at the beginning, middle, and end, and then we're gonna, if somebody has some shorts, 5 to 8 minute little clip, we'll air that, and then the videos that we're looking for is like 20 minutes, kind of on average, not much more than a half an hour.
I guess my question was like, what kind of video are you guys looking for?
Hunting,
It's just
I mean,
hunting related.
Hunting,
Yeah,
fishing,
hunting.
So it can just be a hunt. It doesn't have to be
Yeah,
like
it doesn't have to be
Christian
anything
or
special,
anything
no,
like-
just-
yeah.
just a hunt. Yeah.
Okay.
And
Cool.
it's just to bring guys together and at the church, and we'll talk about, hunting stories, faith, just a
Just to hang
gathering of
out.
guys. Yeah. I think it'll be a good time.
Yep,
I will be there.
absolutely.
Good deal.
Okay, send us home, Kevin.
Alrighty. Doesn't matter what you've done in the past, you can always be born again, and born again is out.